Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 9 Frames podcast. This is episode 18, and it is Friday, September 1st, 2023. Welcome to September, folks.
Yeah.
I am Bill Whalen.
And I'm Mike Whalen. New month.
Yep. And you can catch us on YouTube, 9 Frames Podcast. We're on Spotify at 9 Frames. We're on X at 9 Frames Pod. And we are on PlayerGM.com. There wasn't a lot of baseball since we last talked to you guys, but boy, is there a big weekend coming up.
Always. I mean, the weekends seem to be where they're stacking up all the big series.
Mm-hmm. We will keep you guys kept up to date on what did happen, though. And what did happen was the Dodgers continued to dominate the Snakes. They swept them again.
Yeah, what was the stat I saw? It was like they've won like 34 of their last 41 games against the Snakes in L.A. It's unbelievable.
And this one was a 7-0 win, so it's just another dominating game for the Dodgers. They really just never were in jeopardy of losing this one.
Yeah, no, that whole series didn't really look like much of a back and forth. It seemed like it was very one-sided toward the Dodgers.
Yeah, Dodgers just kind of own the Snakes, and that continues. This was kind of tough and also surprising. The Astros finished off their sweep of Boston and Fenway on Wednesday.
Yeah.
First time in Houston franchise history that they swept Boston and Fenway.
Now, I couldn't believe this was to be true at first, but then you made a good point that they were in the National League for quite a while.
Yeah, recall those rust-red Astros were in the NL for so many years.
They were in the Central when there were 6 teams there and 4 in the AL West. Right. So, I guess it makes a little more sense, but still, it's pretty jarring.
Yeah, pretty wild that it never happened.
The Astros, didn't they come around in the 60s? And
then, these teams have been around for a while, yeah.
I mean, to never sweep them in Fenway, that's pretty wild, man.
So it's a long history.
Congratulations to the Astros.
Yeah, and we're going to keep it in the AL West. Some kind of happy and sad news. Corey Seager having an absolutely fire August. 10 home runs in the month.
I mean, I always toot the horn of Francisco Lindor, but if there's somebody that I can say is better than him, it's probably Corey Seager.
Fair enough. But the news isn't all happy for Texas because Aroldis Chapman continues his struggles. He now has 3 blown saves in his last 5 appearances.
You never want to see that.
Keeping it with the AL West even more, might as well recap them all in one. The Mariners have their first ever 21-win month in franchise history. And this is a team that won, 116 games before?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that either.
It's so wild. They must have had a bunch of 20-win months.
How did they not win 21 games in a season where they won 116?
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy stat, but the Mariners just get it done this month. 21 wins in the month of August. Filthy.
Real impressive stuff.
And after that, the AL West stays in a tie between Seattle and Houston, but Texas is a full game back.
Yeah, Seattle up by percentage points. So, I mean, that 21-win month now has them sitting in first place.
Texas in that last spot, they feel Toronto on the tail.
I mean, and Seattle's playing the Mets now, who just played Texas, and they really didn't look good. I mean, Seattle is a better team than Texas right at this moment.
Most definitely.
They're just
Houston
playing better.
Too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Mariners are probably going to roll over the Mets a little bit here.
And it's a rough look for Texas, who, I mean, they have to face off with Minnesota, who they didn't play well last week. So
yeah, they lost 3 of 4 if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. But just wanted to talk about this because we kind of have to. This is the biggest story in baseball right now. Ohio just took everyone off the waivers.
Every single player, basically, that got claimed.
Yeah, the Reds get Bader and Renfroe, the 2 outfielders, a Yankee outfielder and a Halo outfielder. Cleveland ends up getting Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, and Matt Moore. So they end up with 2 relievers and a starter. These teams weren't very active on the deadline. This was their deadline.
I wanted to add something real quick. Giolito and Reynaldo Lopez have been moved together now 3 separate times. They were traded from the Nats to the White Sox together, from the White Sox to the Angels together, and now they just both got claimed by the Guardians together. How wild is that?
That is pretty insane.
Their major league careers have literally just paired.
Yeah, most definitely. Pretty wild to see the new waiver system in action.
Yeah, I don't really like it.
And 2 teams getting all of the players off the market is pretty insane.
I don't think that's very fair.
No, not at all.
Especially for a team like the Marlins, who was apparently they put claims in for these players and they just couldn't get them because they were a little bit better than the Guardians.
Missed it by a little bit, which is crazy. So, I mean, I guess if you're willing to spend the money on the contracts and you're a bad team, you could just kind of have whoever you want.
Yeah.
And the A's could have claimed all of these guys.
Do you think that maybe the Guardians knew that this could happen and they were sitting back at the deadline like, we're just going to claim people? I don't know. Because, like, how could you plan for, like, a mass...
The thing is, if the Angels hadn't done what they did, this wouldn't have been a great waiver class.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, they couldn't have known. They just must have gotten really lucky.
I think that's exactly what happened. It fell in their lap like so many things do for the Guardians organization.
Yeah, and they've also made up 2 games in the last 2 days, or the last 2 games that they both played, both of those teams. So now they're only 5 out, so they probably see that they might be able to make a little push here.
Right, I wanted to talk about that. They have 2 huge series coming up. Like we said, Minnesota's at Texas right now. They will be playing at home against Tampa Bay.
Oof.
Yeah, the Rays come into Cleveland, but starting Monday for a 3-game set, Cleveland and Minnesota in Cleveland.
See, that could be a swing series there. I mean, it depends how they play against the Rays first, but...
That's what I was going to say. Being 5 games back and coming up against the Rays while Minnesota has Texas, it means a lot.
Who they did just kind of beat up on
Both of these teams have to step up, Cleveland and Minnesota, against teams that are just proven to be good.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Cleveland's 500 at home. That's crazy. They got back to 500 at home. 33 and 33.
What do you think the chances are that they have at the Central here?
I mean, 5 games in a month is definitely doable. So I don't want to say they're dead. I mean, we've been pretty harsh on them, but, like, getting 2 solid relievers and a starter is not, like... That's a good trade deadline if they would have got the... I mean, look, everyone was saying that the Angels bought. Their deadline is so good now. And
they gave it all away.
They gave it all away.
Cleveland and the Reds reap the benefits of the Angels' work, which is pretty wild. You think there's any chance of them coming back from the 5, like we said?
I don't think they're gonna have enough. And Giolito's look terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, getting a starter and 2 relievers, nothing to scoff at, but it all depends on how they perform.
Yeah, Giolito was 1-5 with like a 7 ERA with the Angels. Like, he was terrible. So, shout out to the Reds though, picking up a couple of good outfielders,
right.
Harrison Bader and Hunter Renfroe.
Right. Yeah. And Randall Grichuk returns to the Angels.
Yeah, I can't believe he went unclaimed.
Pretty wild after phenomenal a couple really good performances after being put on waivers.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be too upset about that if you're the Angels, but it is what it is,
Pretty
I guess.
wild. Nobody else wants him.
Yeah,
Do you think maybe Miami would put in a bid on him or something?
Maybe they will. Maybe they didn't at first because they wanted the other player. Well, they were going for pitching, it seemed like.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That's true. They were definitely going for pitcher.
So who knows?
And Miami did drop that second game against Tampa as well, 3-0. So not getting the waiver claims and losing games lately. They're 3-7 in their last 10.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. They're still only 3 out, so I mean those waiver claims could have really helped them.
So that's what happened Wednesday to Friday. We're gonna set you up for the weekend, folks.
Kicking it off in the NL, and what I would say was undoubtedly the biggest series of the weekend.
Yeah, this upcoming weekend, it's gonna be a pretty huge 4-game that will probably be the NLCS this year.
Yeah, you would think it could possibly, like, most likely be.
Yeah, Braves visiting the Dodgers for a 4-game in Chavez Ravine.
Yeah, the first game was on Thursday. It was Spencer Strider was taking on Lance Lynn, who's been phenomenal for the Dodgers.
This game was a really fun watch, too.
Yeah. The Braves were all over Lynn early, though. He's been great for them, but he was not great last night. He didn't have command of any of his pitches. He was... His go-to was the curveball, and it just wasn't working.
Yeah, you could tell he felt uncomfortable with his fastball. Didn't feel like he could get it past guys.
Slipping out of his hand.
So he ended up working with the curveball a lot, and they read it.
So, like I said, the Braves were all over him early. They put up 6 runs in the second inning. That was capped off by homers from Ronald Acuna, which was his 30th and was a grand slam.
A majestic drive.
And Austin Riley, who hits his 32nd.
And what's very disappointing about Lynn in that one is he did have a 1-0 lead coming into that second inning. They had just gotten him a run and gives up 6 there. So
yeah, there was an RBI ground out for the Dodgers. But they turn around those Braves and they put up 6 because that's just what they do.
So good.
Ronald Acuna, with that grand slam, becomes the first player in Major League Baseball history to have a 30-homer, 60-steal season. And there's still a month left.
Yeah, like I said, post to post, my MVP this year. Just like post to post, this has been the Braves division and probably league in the NL.
I think
honestly, MLB.
I think Mookie would love to have a word with you, as we'll discuss him in a brief moment.
Yeah, Mookie Betts is batting .455 in the month of August, so we'll definitely keep our eye on him and Freddie. So
Michael Harris would then homer his 13th of the year to make it 7-1. So you think the Dodgers are down. This team doesn't quit though.
They never do.
They never do. So they won't go away easy. Betts, as I was just saying,
there's that man.
He hits a 3-run homer off of Strider, his 37th of the year, to cut it to 7-4.
Huge play by a clutch player like Betts there. And like I said, probably him and Freddie are really the only ones. Well, I guess Olsen
Maybe
also.
Olsen, yeah.
It's those four, man. But
Yep, it definitely is
I'm
those
taking
four.
Acuna, who's also up over 80 RBI now.
Harris continues his fantastic game. Singles to make it 8-4, which would be the deciding run.
Fair enough.
That 8th run. Homers from Michael Busch, his second of his career and year. And then Betts gets his second of the game for 38
What a day, man.
in the bottom of the 7th to make it 8-6. They're not going anywhere, like I just said. Muncy adds his 32nd in the bottom of the 8th. So
All
one-run
the
game.
Dodgers are really clicking. They try to get into it, but not enough there, right?
Sits at 8-7 right there, and I mean they thought they had a chance, like you just said. The Braves bullpen, it was I think it was Pierce Johnson for 1 out, and then Raisel Iglesias just came in and shut the door. And
Braves flamethrower shuts the door for him. His 27th save of the year.
yeah, they take that one 8-7.
Which just felt like a playoff game beginning to end.
Yeah, I mean you could feel it from the first pitch that it was like these two. These teams are good.
It's so funny watching teams like this. They legitimately play baseball at such a different level than anyone else in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's those two, and then maybe we keep forgetting about how good they've been, but Baltimore has been so good this year.
Yeah, Baltimore has been good, and they've been good at beating teams when they need to.
Tampa Bay too.
They have been, yes, but do either of those teams, do they come back like the Dodgers did in this? They were down 7-1, and they almost won, man, 8-7 in that game.
If there are any two teams, it would probably be those two.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
That makes Strider 16-4. With a 3.56. I mean, I know the ERA is a little bit ballooned, but he's 16-4, and he strikes out a lot of people.
And it's still about average, probably a little below average, right? The ERA in MLB is average 4.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is now they think he's I think he's the second favorite for the Cy Young right now, and he has an average ERA.
His ability to keep his team in games and win them, and, God, his ability to strike players out, man. He's got a 14K per 9 like we've been bringing up.
Yeah, it's absurd. So, I mean, he has to be up there, but that ERA has just got to come down a little bit.
And Lynn coming down to earth in that game, that makes him 10 and 10 with a 5.81 ERA.
Yeah, I mean, he goes up closer to 6. He's been really good for the Dodgers. This is, of course, you're playing the best team in the league. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, Game 2 is going to be a fun matchup between young arms. It's going to be Max Fried, who's 5-1 with a 2.85 on the year, against Luis Urias in his walk year, 11-7 and a 4.41.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of struggling.
Yeah, he needs to have a good last month if he wants to make himself a bit of money.
That's the thing. I feel
and
like
the postseason.
It might be even a little too late. We keep bringing.
No.
I mean, every time he has a start, we keep bringing up how he's got to get those numbers down, and then the numbers look exactly the same when we come back to him the next start.
I mean, if he gets shelled tonight by the Braves, which could absolutely happen because they do that to so many teams, then it might be a little bit tough. But if he has a good game and he gets down to a 4.3, 4.2, and he just keeps that going for the next month, I mean, we know his body of work. He is having a down year, of course, but
it's just been wild to see him at a 4.5 all year.
Yeah, he's been so good the last 3 years. It is weird, but we know who he is.
Yeah.
Game 3 is going to be Bryce Elder, who's 11-4 with a 3.50. Been a nice surprise for the Braves in that rotation,
right?
With Soroka not really being a factor at all this year so far. And the Dodgers have not announced a starter for that game yet.
I believe that's the Gonsolin empty spot, right?
Yeah, I think it is too.
So, I mean, I'm not really sure there, but that's got to be a statement game for Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have a starter announced.
That's what I'm saying. When you got Elder up there, who's been really good, you got to win that game probably.
Yeah, but who knows who the Dodgers send out, man? It could
probably
be
going to send a kid, right? You think?
You never know. Mm-hmm. And I mean, even if it's like Pepwa, if they call him back up too,
they might.
He could shove. I've seen him do it.
Very true.
And the finale on Sunday, we'll see Charlie Morton, veteran for the Braves, who's actually been really good again, under the radar. He's 14-10 with a 3.29 ERA.
I guess you don't put on a Braves jersey and pitch to a 4.
No, it just doesn't happen really. Yeah, I mean, it's even kind of weird to see over a 3.5 most of the time.
For real.
He'll be taking on Bobby Miller, who's had a nice rookie season. He's 8-3 with a 4.
He's a stud.
Yeah,
I think he's got to figure it out a bit. But
he's a little bit raw.
Great stuff.
Yeah. The MVP candidates were all over that first game, man. And it most likely is going to continue that way for the next 3. Which pair of candidates on each team, I'm talking about Betts and Freeman or Olsen and Acuna, will contribute more the rest of this weekend in this series?
It's funny because It's funny because I actually think the Dodgers pair of candidates will help the team more, but the Braves team is better overall, so they'll end up winning the series anyway.
That's a good answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think those two players will have a better series, but the Braves as a whole will take the series, probably 3 out of 4.
Olsen's been in kind of a homerless drought. I think they said it's like 15 or 16 games without a homer now.
That's what I'm saying. A bit of a struggle. I don't think Acuna's going anywhere. That guy just gets on base and he's on third in an instant.
Yeah, he's going to hit every single night, I guess, at this point.
Take a bag easy with those bigger bases this year.
I do tend to agree with you, though, because, I mean, Betts is scorching hot. He wants that MVP, you can tell.
And Freeman is just
Freddie,
the toughest out to get.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's the best first baseman in the game.
Throw him something outside. He's got the longest arms in the league.
51 doubles.
Yeah, insane. He's got, 17 on the month?
I mean, he had 17 one month, and then he had, 16 another month. It's actually insane, dude. Freddie Freeman is going to go down as one of the most underrated players ever, I think.
Predictions in this series, I said I got the Braves taking 3 out of 4 in this one. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to be boring and just say I think it's going to be a split because that's very likely, but the Braves winning the first one, I think it'd be smart to say 3 out of 4 Braves because you'd think they could easily win a series out of 3.
Braves could really make a statement with a 4-game sweep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that would pretty much, lock up the 1 seed. They'd be 8 behind them then.
Right.
So they could absolutely do it. I mean, they are the best team in the league, and it's not particularly close anyway. Yeah, it's 5 now.
Be keeping the closest eye on that series as we watch throughout the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question to you, is there another team in the NL that you think can seriously threaten either of them? If so, who? I don't.
I would say there's only one team, and it's in a playoff series. It's because of the playoff format and series. It would be Philadelphia.
I thought you were going to say Milwaukee, and I was going to disagree, but I do slightly agree that Philadelphia could maybe upset one of them.
The thing is, it would be threatening. I do not think they're taking it. But, I mean, Philadelphia proved everybody wrong last year, so who's to say they won't again?
Yeah, I don't think anybody in the Central or the Giants or D-backs are a threat to either of them.
Not at all. Not in my mind, no.
Yeah, so I agree. It would probably only be Philly, and that would be a stretch.
Maybe Philly can squeeze one out in the 5 games that they'll have against them, but that'll be about it.
100%.
We're going to keep it in the NL, and we just had a very even matchup over in LA. This is another as even as it can be.
Legitimately, record-wise, 100% as even.
This is the Phillies visiting the Brewers in Milwaukee in a battle of teams that are both sitting at 74 and 59 on the dot.
Dude, I'm just looking at the standings, and I just want to say how funny it is that the Phillies would be tied for first in that division, and they're 14 behind the Braves.
It's pretty crazy.
So that just goes to show you how good the freaking Braves are.
Yeah.
It's actually absurd.
Doesn't get much better. The Brewers making a move on Thursday. They signed Josh Donaldson to a minor league deal, I believe.
Yeah, they did.
Okay, so he'll probably be getting league minimum to play for them at some point down the stretch, trying to make an impact.
They got the Yanks coming up soon, too.
I did just see that the young third baseman, Andrew Montesterio, he's slugging, or not his slugging, his OPS is at 519 in the month. So they're probably looking for some pop.
Yeah, but the thing is about Donaldson is, half of it, what does he have, 15 hits this year and 10 of them are homers?
I think quite literally, yes. He's batting 142 on the year.
So, I mean, how much help is... I guess, like I said to you yesterday, I guess it doesn't really hurt to give him a chance, because, if it doesn't work out, you just DFA him.
Which they really might do, honestly. They won't have anything to lose, so...
I'm pretty sure they signed somebody else, too, but I'm just blanking on the name. If I remember, I'll say it again.
All right.
While we recap.
I wanted to note this before actually going into the series in more depth. They do have the same records, but Milwaukee's run differential is plus 21, while Philadelphia's at plus 73.
Yeah, I mean, I think Philadelphia is a better team than them. They're just unfortunately in the NL East.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going on. Both of these teams are 2 of the hottest in baseball right now, though, so this is going to be a very interesting series to watch.
Absolutely. I mean, the Phillies would be playing... No, they wouldn't, actually. I was going to say they'd be playing for first place in the West, but the Dodgers are so far ahead of them, too. Yeah. It'd be 9 games. It's not even close.
Yeah. I mean, they have 9 more wins than them, correct?
Yeah.
Game 1 is a matchup of studs who have been performing pretty well this year. Zach Wheeler is 10-6 on the year with a 3.59. He faces off with Freddie Peralta, who he's 11-8 with a 3.95. What do you think about that matchup?
I mean, I love Wheeler. I think he's an absolute stud since he's left the Mets. Ironically, I mean, he's turned into an absolute ace pitcher. He's
pitches like a legit ace for sure, and he really is the ace of that team.
Oh yeah, I mean, they seem to think it's Nola still because they give him every opening day start. He's had like 7 in a row, and it's probably going to be 8 next year.
Yeah, I mean, that might be more of a respect thing for how long he's been there. But
if he comes
who
back,
they actually think the ace is, I don't know. We'll have to see what they do in the playoffs with that.
Yeah, I mean. And then Freddie Peralta, he's been a strikeout machine as of recent. I mean, he's under a 4 now.
Getting his ERA down, too. He's been eating up innings, so we'll see if he keeps that going in a big game tonight.
He was real good a couple years ago. I remember 21, I think he was an all-star.
And Game 2 is going to be huge because this is a statement game for Philadelphia, I think. They have the guy who you just said they keep giving the opening day starts to, Nola, who is 12-8 on the year with a 4.30.
Kind of having a rough year for Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, even with the way Philadelphia scores run to be 12-8, that's pretty rough to see. And that's against a TBD for Milwaukee. Who do you think they'll be going to in that one? I'm not sure.
They might just do an opener.
Yeah, it'll probably be an opener. The Brewers have always liked to do that, so I don't know. That's probably what that's going to be. But like I said, Nola will have to step up, go deep into that game and not give up a lot of runs, make sure the offense has a chance.
Which he absolutely could do, but it's just he hasn't much this year, and they need him to start doing it now more than ever because they definitely want to clinch up that top wild card spot.
Yeah, very true. I will actually just say now, we did just talk about the first 2 games, but Milwaukee is 3 games up in the NL Central right now. Philadelphia is a half game up, or no, they're 5 games up in the top wild card. They are also 3 games up on Chicago, obviously, as them and Milwaukee have the same record.
So I did figure out who it was. It was Greg Allen. They signed to a minor league deal as well.
Okay, so they signed Greg Allen and Josh Donaldson. We'll see if those guys make impacts for them.
They're hoping they do. I mean,
so Game 3 is the Peacock game on Sunday. If you guys want to watch it and you have Peacock, that'll be the place to catch that. Ranger Suarez will be going for Philadelphia in that one. He's 2-6 on the year with a 3.88. Pretty solid stuff.
Yeah.
Against Wade Miley, who we've been giving a lot of respect to lately, just keeps on ticking. He's 7-3 on the year for Milwaukee with a 3.17.
I think just based on starters, they're nothing against Ranger Suarez, but I would favor Miley. I just think he's really pitching well, man. People need to talk about it more. Mm-hmm. He's a 3.17 is no joke for somebody who's. I mean, he doesn't throw gas. He's not blowing the ball by people.
He's never been the gas thrower.
He's all just control, get ground outs, and just get through the game. He's who he reminds me of? Mark Burley.
I was going to say almost like a lesser Kershaw, too.
Yeah, Kershaw was a strikeout king.
At the time, yeah, that's true. But I'm saying, I guess in his later years.
I'm talking about, ground ball, like Stroman, but, actually good.
Okay, Stroman's actually good. All right. Well, like we said, both of these teams have a 3-game lead on the same team, the Chicago Cubs, for different spots. So, going to be huge for them. And
that's so interesting.
We're going to talk about the Cubs up next. So, I wanted your predictions and thoughts on this series and these teams.
That's tough. I mean, it being in Milwaukee, I always say the home field is nice, but it doesn't really. I'm gonna give the Brewers the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm gonna say they're gonna win this series 2 out of 3.
I'm calling for it. Philly sweep.
Wow.
Philly sweep.
I hope we remember this for Monday.
Philly sweep. I'll remember it.
All right.
I'll remember. Philly sweep here. If they don't, I do think they will take 2 out of 3 either way. I'm
going to give the Brewers the 2 out of 3 win.
I think Philly's taking 2 out of 3 no matter what, but I do think they're going to sweep. I think they'll pull it out.
I think that third game I said Miley I'm going to give the favor to, and then I think I might give Peralta. I mean, it depends on how they hit Wheeler.
That's what I'm saying. It's a series that can go either way, but I see Philly sweeping here, and I feel good about Philly right now. I think they're going to step up and prove that they're the better team.
It should absolutely be a fun series.
After this series, Philadelphia goes to San Diego for a 3-game, and Milwaukee goes to Pittsburgh for a 3-game. So both of these teams kind of have to want to build some momentum going into the week.
Yeah, I mean, if the Brewers take this series, they could have a nice little week upcoming.
And like we said, if the Cubbies play well and that sweep happens for the Phillies,
it's only 3.
We'll keep an eye on that. We'll talk about the Cubs now.
Yes, and like we're talking about with the Cubs only being 3 back behind the Brewers right now, they're starting a huge 4-game set in Cincinnati against the Reds.
Yeah, this is the second and third place team of the Central facing off, and they both need these games so bad.
I mean, we were just talking about how it's big for the Cubs. They could still win the Central, and they sit in the second wild card spot. But like the Reds are only a game and a half out of that final NL wild card spot.
They need that. That's what they're playing for, and they just picked up a couple outfielders, like we said, in Bader and Renfroe to try to make that push.
I love those moves.
I do too.
I think both of those guys are definitely. I mean, they're gonna help them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be. They're not gonna be bad for them. I mean, they could be. You never know. But like, Renfroe's got pop that they need.
Yeah, and this series is funny too. I wanted to say because they play 4 games in 3 days.
Yeah, and Bader's got the defense that they need.
Oh yeah,
which
a ton
is
of
great.
speed too.
As you were just saying, yeah, 4 games in 3 days. The first 2 is a doubleheader today.
Yeah, it's a huge Friday for them. I mean, this is a statement day. If you can take 2 of these games to kick it off, the other team is going to be demoralized.
Doubleheaders in the beginning of the series is wild. Definitely. I thought that maybe they would put it like the doubleheader on Sunday.
Yeah, even Saturday in the middle so that these teams get some familiarity with them and then they play a couple on the same day. But
you're going to be using a bunch of arms today, and then you got the other 2 games.
Long series, and I'm not sure if they even get the day off. I don't think they do, actually. I believe both of these teams play on Monday, so it's going to be pretty wild.
It's a day that you need starter depth.
Mm-hmm.
And today will be game 1. The first one will be Jordan Wicks, who's 1-0 with a 1.80.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, limited innings there.
Yeah, he'll be taking on Graham Ashcraft, who's 7-8 with a 4.73.
Yeah, so I mean, this is another one where it feels like the established starter in Ashcraft really has to step up and prove himself.
But sometimes, I mean, like a lot of the time, he doesn't give them many innings. No. And I just said we need innings, and both of these guys, I mean, I don't know much about Jordan Wicks, but it doesn't seem like inning eaters.
No, it
for
doesn't.
The first game.
Not at all. Yeah, which is tough because the second game in this doubleheader doesn't have a single pitcher announced.
There's not. Both of them are TBD right now.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty rough to see. It kind of seems like these teams got very thrown off by the scheduling, which is rough because they both need these games so bad.
Do you think that they're about to do a double opener for the second game?
It seems like it. I don't see why else they wouldn't be announced.
Well, unless Wicks is an opener for the first game, and then they announce a starter for the second game?
Why wouldn't they have already done that, then?
To maybe not give the Reds a chance to set their lineup earlier against a announced starter, like give them a little bit of an element of surprise.
I mean,
maybe?
I'm sure the Cubs and the Reds both have a lineup written for if it's a lefty or a righty, and then they're just going to run that out, right?
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, you'd think they would be prepared for both.
So that doubleheader looks to be pretty sloppy today.
Yeah, and it's like a 1-10 start and then like a 6-10 start, so it's kind of like a straight doubleheader with like a little break in between.
Don't be surprised if you see a lot of offense in this 2-game set, and I think I'm going to be watching that 1 o'clock game, not going to lie.
Yeah, it should be pretty interesting. I actually didn't... I kind of forgot until right now that it starts that early.
Good call. I'll be turning into that.
The third game of the series, which is on Saturday, only tomorrow, which is very weird to say.
Pretty weird.
It pits Javier Assad, who's been real good for the Cubs. He's 3-2 with a 2.96 against Andrew Abbott, who's been a bright spot for the Cincinnati rotation.
Oh, you're a real stud.
Yeah, he's 8-4 with a 3.35. I mean, he's been a stud.
Yeah, so it seems like the Cubs have been like really down this stretch depending on young pitchers to really step up for them.
And it seems to have been working.
It has been working, but is it sustainable down the stretch during September? We will see.
We definitely will. The series finale on Sunday has veteran Jameson Taillon, who's 7-9 with a 5.62 ERA. He'll be battling Brandon Williamson, who's been up and down a little bit. Like, he could give you a real nice start, or he could shit the bed. Yeah, but he's a kid. He's a younger kid.
He's evening out to a little bit above league average, about league average.
Yeah, he's 4-4 with a 4.20. So I mean, you'll take that from somebody you didn't expect to even be on your roster.
I mean, definitely considering he's looking better than Hunter Green at this point. So
yeah, I mean, and that's somebody that they expected to be good. Exactly. I don't think they were expecting Brandon Williamson to be up this year.
He's looking better than Ashcraft too. So I mean, take it for what it is, grain of salt and all that, you know.
Absolutely. So the Reds could really use a series win. Do you think they get it done?
It's funny. I'm coming into this series, and like the Reds need these games brutally, but like they're not the main characters for me.
The Cubs
are. Cubs are the main characters. They're 3 games back, and I picked the Philadelphia sweep. I need the Cubbies to make up these games. I need the Cubbies to take 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I mean that could put them right there. They'd be a game out.
They'd be a game out, and if they can sweep it. Wait, no. If they won 3 out of 4, yeah, they'd be a half game out. Right?
Oh, yeah, it would be a half game.
Yeah, half game out, or they could be a half game up if they sweep that 4 game. But
Sweeping a 4-game is hard, though.
Of course. And then again, if it goes poorly for the Cubbies, man, like this whole division can be scattered by the end of this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, we are in the final stretch now, so there's not really. We're running out of time for error.
I think I picked the Cubbies for a 3 out of 4. I do think a split is realistic, especially because of the doubleheader leaving so much like up in the air on today.
Yeah, anytime there's a 4-game against 2 teams that are pretty even like this, it's easy to say there's a split. But
unannounced starters in Game 2, though.
A lot of, I mean, it's going to be a weird series, honestly.
It is. It's going to be. I think it's going to be, the word that I used earlier was literally sloppy. I think that's what it's going to be. The managers are going to be working overtime. This is what they get paid for.
Yeah, well, we'll see who's the better manager, David Bell or David Ross.
God, imagine this series if pitchers were hitting and they had to work around that.
That'd be ridiculous. Oh my God. I'm so glad that pitchers don't.
They'd be having to take them out in like the 4th inning because they don't want them to hit, and then bringing in someone else in the. Oh man, everybody would be exhausted.
Kind of crazy that people seem to forget that David Ross is the Cubbies manager, and what, his second or third year?
Cubbies, don't forget, fan favorite, player favorite.
I mean, he's doing a good job this year.
He's a player's manager, and he's establishing himself.
He was
for
always
sure.
a player's player too,
having a good year for himself for sure.
Yeah. So you think the?
I take Cubs 3 out of 4. Or I take a split. I do think the split is the most likely. I'm not confident in a Cubs 3 out of 4. I honestly say split. What about you?
I'm going to be boring, and I'm going to go split too.
Yeah. So I mean, but the thing is, I got Philly sweep and a Cubs split. That shakes things up.
Yeah,
it really shakes things up.
It would definitely, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely be watching that one.
We're gonna move it on over to interleague ball, and what I thought was a really fun and interesting interleague series. Another statement series for the Diamondbacks, which is really unfair. That's how it's been going.
They're having
scheduling.
A tough draw for the end of the season here.
The first place Orioles will be visiting the Diamondbacks in the Valley. Ugh. They sit now they sit 1 game back after last night's game concluded.
The Giants beat the Padres last night.
Yeah, so they sit 1 game back of that 3rd wild card spot. Could not be bigger for the D-backs because the Dodgers just dominated them and they swept them. They're still in there.
Yeah.
You got to stay in it in this one.
Definitely.
Another first-place team and the best team in the AL.
I mean, to get absolutely swept out of the building in LA and only be a game behind, you got to think you're lucky here.
I mean, you really can't draw more of a brutal draw than Dodgers and Orioles back-to-back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the schedule makers thought the Orioles would be the best team in the American League at this point in the season this year, but unfortunately for the Diamondbacks, they are.
And currently sitting 1.5 games up on Tampa Bay, so we'll definitely keep our eye on that. We said Tampa Bay is playing Cleveland for a 3-game.
Yeah, dude, like that division's not out of reach, and I can't believe it because Tampa Bay is so beat up. We keep saying it, but they just keep winning.
They're at a 186 run differential, so it's one of the best in the league, man.
They have the best in the American League, the most amount of runs scored in the American League. They're the only team up over 700. Well, Texas is at 738, but they're a 3rd-place team now somehow.
Right. First game of this series between the Orioles and the Snakes. That's going to be Cole Irvin. He's 1-3 with a 4.78. He started 3 of his last 7 games. So it's a bit like like a Lugo situation, I guess is how I would describe it.
Yeah, they pick and choose when they want him to start. Because, he'll probably give them like 4 or 5 innings maximum.
Clark Schmidt does that too.
Yeah, right? He'll come out 4 or 5 innings, and then he's the bulk guy.
And he faces off against Zach Davies, who's 1-5 with a 6.93. Kind of really ugly numbers there.
I think that part of the game has given guys like Cole Irvin a job again.
Oh, it has, most definitely.
Being the bulk guy,
you can kind of point to Tampa Bay for giving all those jobs to guys because they proved that the opener can work in a full season.
It definitely can, and it's a way to manipulate the cap a little bit too because you don't have to pay these expensive ass starters.
Very true.
When you could just start somebody for way cheaper, get 4 innings, and then just build a sick bullpen, and they shut it down.
Kind of really revolutionized the game. Cool to see.
Yeah, definitely.
Game 2 is the stud Kyle Bradish.
What a year he's having.
He's 9-6 with a 3.03 versus another young stud, Slade Ciccone. He's 0-0, obviously just got there with a 2.57 on the year. All right, I see him.
Yeah, a couple young guys battling.
Yeah, I think this series is going to come down to the Snakes pitching having to step up against a really good lineup and a really good pitchers on the other side as well. Because we're finishing it off Sunday at 4:10. That's Jack Flaherty, who is 8-8 with a 4.73. He pitches for the O's. What do you think about Flaherty since he's come over?
I haven't really seen. I know the first one of his starts, or one of the first 2, he was really, really good. He went like 7 innings, but I don't know. He's still sitting around a 5, man. Like Flaherty he had a real good year, a couple years.
I'm waiting for him to just be that needle mover we know he can be. He's capable of being a top of the rotation guy, but he's not pitching like it, man.
Yeah, they really need him to be. Also, I have a question. I mean, I know he had to have Tommy John, but like, where the hell is John Means?
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
How long is it going to take for him to come back?
I'll have to look into that, honestly. But Flaherty will be facing off against Zach Gallen, who we were saying really needs to step up. He's 14-6 on the year with a 3.32. But the reason I'm saying Gallen needs to step up is because he just gave up 9 hits and 6 earned runs to the Dodgers.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But I mean, he is up there in the Cy Young favorites in the National League.
Right. I just mean that after that last game against a first-place team, and now he has another start against a first-place team, if it's back-to-back bad performances, he's kind of proving he's not built for the hard games.
Yeah, as of this moment, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, it would be back-to-back first-place teams is the best test a pitcher could have.
I think he'll come through for them in that game, if you want my honest opinion.
Yeah, that game's going to be a fun wash at 4:10 on Sunday.
Usually he doesn't give 2 bad games back-to-back.
How do you see this series playing out overall?
I mean, looking at the pitching matchups, I mean, I gotta give it. I still gotta give it to the Orioles. It's boring. They're the first place team, but like, I think it could easily go the D-backs' way.
I would really love for the Snakes to take 2 out of 3.
That third game is definitely in favor of the D-backs for me.
Yeah, they can take the Ciccone game and the Gallen game, man. Maybe I just pick them 2 out of 3 against the O's, but it'd be a real statement win in that series.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they play well. I'm rooting for the Diamondbacks. I like their team. I think they could be a problem for people. Maybe not this year, but like they're building for. If you're only a game out in September with the young team that they have, I mean they'll be fine. They'll be all right.
That's the thing. They have to build from here. The D-backs are 6-4 in their last 10 to Baltimore 7-3. So obviously both of these teams are playing decent ball.
Do you think a team like the Diamondbacks like knows that? I mean, they probably don't think this way, but like, you think they ever like think, we're probably not going to win the World Series, but we want to get into the playoffs just to get a little bit of experience so that we know for next year and we can prepare better for like when we have more.
Why can't they win the World Series?
Well, their team's not good enough.
I mean,
flat out.
They have 2 really good pitchers at the top of the rotation.
Yeah, then what happens?
They have Sewald now. They have a decent pen.
You're not going to convince me the Diamondbacks can win the World Series this year,
They have a decent lineup.
They're 4 games over 500. It's not happening.
What do you got to win? Like 15 or 16? How many
do you think the Reds can win the World Series this year?
Could they?
No.
Maybe.
No.
Probably not.
We have to use a little bit of logic here. Like, I know it's baseball, but it's a playoff series. The
Reds Snakes have a better chance than the Reds.
By a half game at this moment.
No. They have a better chance of winning the World Series if they get in. I'm saying.
I guess, roster-wise,
2 aces
maybe.
at the top, a good closer at the end, a decent lineup.
I don't think either of those teams are a threat to anyone, but
I don't want to write them off. That's the whole point, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying the point is they're going to get in for experience. Like, they're going to play a playoff series, and they're going to feel how it feels.
What do you think people were saying in 2014? Do you think they were saying San Francisco made it from the NL wild card, and the Royals made it from the AL wild card?
San Francisco's 3rd World Series
and the Royals made it from the AL wild card. I don't think anybody saw that shit coming.
Yeah, they proved it the next year by it not being a fluke, and they go to the World Series because they got experience in 2014, is what I'm saying.
Fair enough. I mean, well, okay. Well, at that point, that would be the Snakes winning the NL this year, but though that's still...
It could happen, but I don't think they're going to win the World Series. There's no way. I just don't think there's any way.
Well, yeah, I think the chances are very low.
I mean, the differential is negative, bro. Like, there's no shot.
Right. All right. We'll see. But I do take a Snakes upset 2 out of 3 in this.
I respect it. I mean, they need it. They definitely need it.
I think the 2 pitchers in those 2 second games will step up, and if they take that 3rd game, they could even sweep.
And like I said, I'm rooting for the D-backs. Like, I want them to be good. I want them to get in there and get that experience because the experience definitely helps.
Yeah. Yep.
You literally bringing up the Royals helped prove my point a little bit because they got in that one year, got in the next year, and won the World Series.
Right, yeah.
It's just about being there and just, I mean, this last month is going to be huge for them because they're a game out and the pressure's on. Like, you got to win games, guys.
Most definitely. They did lose their last 3, obviously, the sweep to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So this will be a big step up for them. Baltimore, but actually, what was your call on the series?
I think I'm going to give the Orioles 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Fair enough. Baltimore moves on to a 3-game set in L.A. against the Angels after this, and Colorado goes to Arizona for a 3. they finally get a break in the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, it's about time.
They finally get to play a team that's not in first or second.
You'd think, but like it's still a divisional rival, and we know how tough even the last place team could be.
Fair enough. If there's one team I want to face in the West, though, it's obviously them.
Absolutely.
And Baltimore gets the team above them.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll definitely keep our eyes on this as well, but the D-backs need a big weekend here.
I think it might be.
Against a real tough team.
It could be.
Well, I'm rooting for them.
All right, everyone. That was episode 18 of the 9 Frames podcast.
That'll do it.
Yep, this is Friday, the 1st of September, 2023. I've been Bill Whalen.
And I've been Mike Whalen.
Thanks for watching and listening wherever you have. You can catch us on YouTube at 9 Frames Podcast. We're also on Spotify at 9 Frames, and you can catch us on X at 9 Frames Pod or on PlayerGM.com also.
Yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate everybody that's listening.
Yep, give us a follow on X, give us a listen on Spotify, subscribe, like on YouTube. Honestly, press the notification bell if you want to know when we go live.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoy this phenomenal weekend of baseball with all of the playoff implications, and we'll talk to you on Monday.
Yeah.